James Gunn's Superman saves a squirrel in this movie. He takes the time during a kaiju attack to save a squirrel. Zack Snyder's Superman will kill Zod without a moment's hesitation. There were so many ways he could have saved that family in Man of Steel, but it was like, oh, I'm lazy. Oh, Zod, no. But James Gunn's Superman will take his time to save a squirrel. Talk about going in a totally new direction. What's up, everybody? Today we are here to talk about Superman 2025, formerly known as Superman Legacy. The new James Gunn directed start of a new DCE EU. No more DC movies where Henry Cavill plays a Superman and Gal Gadot plays your Wonder Woman. We have come to a new age for the DC extended universe, and James Gunn is at the helm of it. This Superman movie will not be his first time directing a DC movie. His first time directing a DC movie was the Self-Deletion Squad. Trying to keep it cool and copacetic for the YouTube algorithm. So how is James Gunn's take on one of the oldest superheroes, if not the oldest superhero ever? It's really good, I really like it, but I definitely don't love it. So let's get into it. And let's start off on a good note with the positives. One of the pluses about this 2025 Superman is that it's not another origin story. We are not starting at the beginning, we are not seeing his home planet Krypton get destroyed and decimated. We don't see him crash down on Earth and meet the lovely Papa and Mama Kent, so on and so forth. Anyone that knows who Superman is knows the story, knows the lore, and if you don't, how? The good thing though, whoever you are, you lucky person you have a lot of movies to go through, a lot of movies to sift through, as well as two series that have started and ended. One is better than the other. I haven't watched them from start to finish. I've watched a lot more of this one, but it's a lot of fun. Enjoy. This story, though, has us come in after Superman has already been doing his thing for about 3 years. I think it's 3 years. Yeah, he's been doing his thing for about 3 years. And in those 3 years, he has been able to dispense and dispose of any villain that comes his way because he's Superman. The guy is OP as f***. Without kryptonite, the guy is the personification of a deus ex machina. Am I right or am I right? All of us have sat down and talked about how Superman is super OP. He's noble, he's nice, he is the defender of good, but the guy OP. Anyway, seemingly out of nowhere, a new foe arises that gives Superman a run for his money. A serious run for his money. And he starts to look not so OP, which I kind of liked. And it's all spearheaded by Lex Luthor. A Lex Luthor that hates Superman. Like hates Superman. With the fury of the suns that energize him. That's the kind of hate he has. We know. All the while, Superman will stop at nothing to uphold the values that have been instilled in him from his birth. And without a shadow of a doubt, make sure he will always do what's right. And stop the bad guy from doing very bad guy things. Because he's the good guy. It's not really changing the formula. The direction is new. It's a new direction. But the formula is still the same. And on top of all that, the plot has him embroiled in some sort of war between two countries, one more powerful than the other, and using its power to bully the other country. And just like Captain America,
I don't like bullies.
Superman doesn't like bullies either. And even if his nobleness and pure-hearted nature stands in his way, his end goal is not to have any casualties. Save them all, save them always. A lot of people are coming out of this movie saying that it makes them feel hopeful, makes them feel happy, makes them feel uplifted. That's because they're comparing it to Man of Steel and Zack Snyder's vision of Superman. Let's be honest. So I kind of get why they feel that way. And I tend to agree that this Superman does have that upbeat feeling wherein the last one didn't. Not that it was bad, but there was much more doom and gloom and sadness and somberness. This one has, let's just say, more color to it. But when this movie wants to get serious and wants to get grim and have innocent people bite the bullet, and by bite the bullet, I mean die, it goes for it. And you're going, ooh, all right, that just happened. Damn. And I liked having that contrast. But the overall vibe of this movie, the baseline of it, is definitely happy. They will show you that when things need to get serious, it gets serious. But on the other hand, he'll save a squirrel. Catch my drift? And I'll say one of the biggest reasons that this movie does have that baseline of hopefulness is because of the actor that plays Superman, David Corenswet. In my eyes, he is definitely playing one of the best Supermans I've ever seen on screen. We haven't had a lot, but he's definitely, just from this one film, playing a very comic accurate Superman. He's not trying to do what Henry Cavill did before him, or he's not trying to emulate Christopher Reeve. But throughout this Superman 2025, David Cornsweet does have a sprinkling of all those actors, the best parts of them. But he brings his quirkiness, his charm, his physicality, and his voice. Damn, the guy has a deep voice. A deep and commanding voice. Very apt for someone called Superman. No, I'm not jealous. And if David Cornsweet improves upon what he has shown in this movie, he could be well on his way to becoming one of the best Supermans we have had. I know that's a bold statement, but I really did like him in this movie. And yeah, he was definitely a positive in this movie. And the rest of the cast, I would say, also did a very, very good job. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane brought something that was entirely her own and was not wooden or flat or boring or phoned it in. It felt like she actually came in to work. Not being any of those things is always a plus in my book. You're always going to get some extra kudos for that. The surrounding cast, like the Justice Squad, which consists of Nathan Fillion as the Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, and I hope I'm pronouncing this name correctly, Edie Gatiji as Mr. Terrific. He was definitely one of the ones that stood out to me. And rounding out the squad, we had Isabel Merced as Hawkgirl. I thought they added a nice bit of quirkiness, a nice bit of levity to the movie whenever they were on screen. But I will say Hawkgirl as a superhero that has wings and screams, or should I say shrieks at people and then hits people with a spiky hammer medieval thing. Why pick someone or a superhero that has that power? Green Lantern can will and imagine things into existence. Whatever he can muster up in his imagination, he can bring to life. That's pretty cool. Mr. Terrific seems to have the intellect that can match any supervillain and the cool ability to make objects and technology that actually benefit the team. Hawkgirl can scream and play whack-a-mole. Feels like a missed opportunity to add someone to the team that could have been very useful. Someone you can't do without. And don't women have the ability to shriek like that without powers anyway? I'm just playing. And one thing for sure, I love the portrayal of Mama and Papa Kent in this version of Superman. They are so wholesome. Mark Kent played very, very nicely, very, very sweet by Neville Howell, who I don't recognize from anything, so I feel very bad about that. But nevertheless was very well suited for the role. But I did recognize Papa Kent, who's played by Pruitt Taylor Vince. Their portrayal as the Kents is the most tender the Kents have ever been on screen. The best way to describe it is, do you know when you go home for a home-cooked meal and your mother cooks you that nice, beautiful home-cooked meal and you can smell it? That's the feeling that these Kents gave in this movie. And I appreciated that, and it made me feel good. But the person that would have been the standout for me is definitely Nicholas Hoult. I say it like that because I really enjoyed his performance in the first half of the movie. The first half, it was near perfect. Almost there. He had a presence to him. Even though he was just human compared to Superman, he seemed to be one step ahead of Superman. A formidable opponent, as he always has been. But come the second half, he for some reason turns into one hell of a whiny, annoying, little petty that needs to assert his dominance in the most childish of ways. First half is methodical, prepared, calculated. I will stop Superman by any means necessary because I have studied the man in his every move and I will exploit his every weakness. And I pity the man, super or otherwise, that dares goes against me. And the second half, he becomes a petulant child that has his ego deflated. Why is Superman beating me? It's not fair. He's a super alien with superpowers. I want to be super too. Don't look at me. The drop-off is interesting to say the least. That's why I said he would have been the standout if the Lex Luthor from the start carried through till the end. If this movie was steering more towards the campy side, it would have been a more forgivable thing. But when this movie decides to get serious, and at points it does get very serious, like I mentioned before, with Lex Luthor himself doing some pretty abhorrent things, and the seriousness added with how maniacal he was at the start, gets, for a lack of a better word, pummeled by the end. And took it from a character that was really stealing the show to a character nobody wants to bring along to a party because he whines all the time. Superman is too OP, everyone knows it. Now we come to the action, which I thought was very well filmed. Not amazing, could have been a little bit better. Let me explain. Most times in my video, I will talk about one thing, which is shaky cam. As long as a movie doesn't have shaky cam, for the most part, I won't have any grievances with how the action scenes are filmed. That's how easy it is to entertain me during action scenes. Just don't have the camera guy doing that during an action scene. I'm A-okay. Have a good, nice, wide angle of it. We're good to go. That being said, there are times in this movie where the action does this quick whip action from here to here to here hard pan in a different direction. That would be better if they just slowed it down just a little wee bit. But I do get it. They're trying to make you understand and see how fast these meta-humans are. Just sometimes they move so fast and in so many directions, you start to ask yourself, what happened in the scene previous? Oh, did he get hurt? Oh, okay. I guess he's not hurt. But just before he acted like he was hurt, he's back up. Oh, he's flying again. I guess he was fine. And also when it comes to Superman again, unless you're using kryptonite to try and defeat him, it's going to be pretty hard to defeat a very powerful character or any powerful character in general. It just feels as if they're getting pushed around rather than fighting really and actually getting hurt. There are moments in this movie where I thought Superman could be in danger, was close to being in danger, but it's always nagging in the back of your mind. Is he really getting hurt? Doesn't seem to me that he's close to losing here, which I kind of understand, especially for Superman. If I were writing a Superman movie, I would have no idea how to make it exciting. The guy, like I said before, I've said a number of times, he's OP. What are you going to do? We've tried to do it in Man of Steel where he was trying to fight Zod, and then when he was fighting Zod, same thing happened. Pushed around. Is he hurt? Doesn't look like it. So even if he's fighting another Kryptonian and that doesn't seem to put any damage on him, what really can you do? Zod himself didn't seem to do any damage. Just pow! Oh! Pow again? And it just goes on and on again. Pow! 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 You can see how that can get old pretty fast. And always at the back of your mind, you keep whispering to yourself, just fly closer to the sun. That's your energy source. Go and get more energy. But what do I know? And I believe now that it's an absolute certainty. If Superman fights wherever he is, a city will fall. Whether it's Man of Steel, whether it's Superman 2025. If he's fighting in the city will get decimated. That's a Superman guarantee. But overall, I thought the action was not unappealing to the eye. It had a very dynamic nature to it. And that's what I want most of all. Don't have action scenes that have absolutely no thought put into them. Have a little bit of thought. Have a little bit of care. And the action was more or less very engaging and pleasing to the eye. And there was this Warner action scene, similar to the one in the Kingsman movies, as well as the third Guardians movie, where the camera moves 360 around the whole action scene. The Warner scene we have here in Superman 2025 is very immersive. It is very immersive. It's nice. But for the first time in a long time, for someone that really enjoys action Warner scenes, it felt kind of gimmicky. Just a little bit. Not too much, but just a little bit gimmicky. It was not a boring action Warner scene, but for the first time in a long time, I did feel it was a Warner scene for the sake of having a Warner scene. But the scene mixed with the upbeat music that James Gunn likes to put in most of his movies. And we all know James Gunn at this point. If he can put a song in a scene, he's going to put a song in a scene. For the most part, 8 times out of 10, he always gets it right. This one, I'm middle of the way, but I still enjoyed it a bit more because of the song. One thing though that I enjoyed here more than most movies that have someone that can fly are the flying scenes themselves. People seem to be mixed about it. If you ask me, I thought they had a bit of pop to them. And I would even say those are the scenes the most that made me feel like a comic book came to life on screen. And that's pretty hard these days, when every superhero and their uncle can fly. Having aerial scenes that have at least a 5% difference in them can't hurt in my book. And I found myself really enjoying whenever Superman was flying on screen, when I've seen superheroes flying on screen for the last since I've been born. The music by John Murphy and David Fleming, I thought I had some serious moments where it got me bobbing my head and be like, yeah, we can do this. Where's that theme? Dun, 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 dun. Copyright. YouTube is always watching. That main theme that they have and the way they incorporated the classic John Williams score, I was using that theme when I was in the gym, and let's just say it made me lift a little bit harder. I might not be Superman, but maybe Superboy? And now let's get to some of the negatives of this movie. I would start with the dialogue. One of the best things about this movie is that it's a James Gunn movie. But also in being a James Gunn movie, he does have some very James Gunn tendencies. He does have this habit of inserting humor into scenes that are very somber, very quiet, very nuanced, and require you to sit and chill in them for about 5 to 7 seconds, undisturbed. But to him, 5 to 7 seconds is very long, it seems, where you think we're going to feel the impact of the scene. Everyone is sad. They just heard some bad news. Maybe be quiet and reflect for just a smidge. Nope. A character has to do something or say something or have something play in the background to have it ruin the scene entirely. Instead of focused on what's important. Every time that happens, I say to myself, James Gunn just being James Gunn. But I have noticed that it's happening less and less. So at least he's learning from his mistakes. We'll have to notice in the next one if he does it again. And the civilians in this movie are some of the stupidest I've ever seen in any comic book movie. When the Chitauri were attacking New York, everybody was running, trying to get to some shelter, away from danger. In any Godzilla movie, you see civilians running somewhere, anywhere to get away from the prehistoric radioactive destroyer of cities. For some reason in this movie, even though you have a kaiju the size of Godzilla himself, you just have all of them just stand around doing nothing. Lord almighty, look at the size of this thing. Oh my god, the foot is coming down, guys. Oh my god, it's coming down. Where do we go? Where do we go? Oh, not making any effort to get away from it. The only reason it made me laugh, okay, giggle, not laugh, is because it reminded me of that scene from Austin Powers. That guy and the idiots in this movie deserve their fate. Another minor negative about this movie is that there are some aspects to the plot that do seem a bit too predictable. There's a scene in the movie where one character talks about a certain device, and if that device is not handled with the absolute care down to the decimal when it comes to the measurements, it can cause a lot of issues. And you just go, I wonder what the end is going to be. But that's a very mild, minor negative. If you've watched these type of movies, or movies in general, you know that somebody says something like that is going to be a major issue in the finale. So it's a very tiny negative. There is one thing that I do want to talk about though, that is a spoiler, so I'm going to leave a spoiler tag here. Once this spoiler tag vanishes, that spoiler is done. So to all that haven't seen it and don't want to be spoiled, that's your spoiler warning. So in 3, 2, 1... One thing that I found very interesting is the way that they altered the message that Kal-El, Superman, got from his parents, Jor-El and Lara. In every iteration, the message has always been one of hope and prosperity, and the pursuit of what is innately good in human beings. Whether it's the Christopher Reeve version, even the Zack Snyder version has Russell Crowe say, "You will give them an ideal to strive towards," which was a pretty good scene in Man of Steel. And Zack Snyder is known for a very doom and gloom type of vibe. Just watch the entirety of Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. That movie should not have been as boring as it was. In Superman 2025, however, the first part of the message seems to be in line with what we've come to expect from Superman's parents. But once the message gets fixed and retrieved by Lex Luthor after he invades his Fortress of Solitude, we find out that his parents in this version want him to be more or less a conqueror of Earth. And you get the vibe that his parents perceive humans to be lesser than, which is true. But the masses don't want to have their egos deflated by an alien who has made Earth their home and has the capabilities of destroying the world if he so chooses to do so. Yes, my son, you will rule over them because you are better than them in every way, down to the molecule. They will come to know you as their ruler, their conqueror, Genghis Kal-El. That has a nice ring to it. And for all those that stand against you, they can challenge you in combat. May the best man win. I thought that choice was pretty gutsy, wasn't expecting it. But I also thought, oh damn, you went there. Let's see how this pans out with the die-hardcore fans of the source material. But they did kill Zod in Man of Steel and they got over that pretty quickly. And did anybody else notice the similarities to the graphic novel The Boys? Not the show, the actual graphic novel. Spoilers incoming for the graphic novel of The Boys in 3, 2, 1. In the comic book, the character of Black Noir, this guy, was actually supposed to be the clone of Homelander. And not just some rando like in the show who's allergic to peanuts. He was the clone of Homelander. In this Superman, this character that's dressed all in black, wait for it, is a clone of Superman. I was watching it going, can they do that? They just did that. Can they do that? Good artists borrow, great artists steal. Alright, spoilers done. This movie had a lot more positives than it did negatives, and the negatives that were there didn't really bring down the movie a lot where it sullied my enjoyment of it. The acting was good all around, no weak links other than what they did with Lex Luthor's character. That one spoiled him from being the absolute standout of this movie. Don't know why they went with that choice, but maybe in the future movies they can fix that. Hopefully they do fix that. He should have stayed that intellectual arch nemesis that he's known for being in the Superman lore, and not whine like a spoiled, rich, entitled toddler. Hopefully in future movies in this universe they do rectify that and he becomes a maniacal Lex Luthor. And Nicholas Hoult does have the talent to do so, so let him do it. The dialogue itself as well could have been spruced up just a little bit more. But overall, I thought that this new Superman from the mind of James Gunn was a great start for a supposed extended universe. And I'm curious to see where it goes moving forward. What directors they pick for various heroes. Are they going to switch tones or keep it in line with this one? Which would box them in, so I hope they don't do that. All in all, I would give this movie a very solid 7 out of 10. I don't mind watching it again to see how my feelings change the second time, but most likely I will still like it. How did all of you like it? Is this your favorite Superman? Is it your worst Superman? And what is your favorite Superman movie and who played Superman the best to you? I would like to know. Let me know down in the comments. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you know when my next video is out. And as always, peace, love, and I'll see you. Oh yeah. Jimmy Olsen, for some reason, is a ladies' man in this movie. No explanation, we don't know why. Do with that as you will. See you when I see you.